yesterday's class, right, or the last class. So today's session is more on the penetration testing actually. So just a glimpse on penetration testing, and then we'll just have a few discussion about the framework that we'll be using for as part of this training. All right, and then we'll take some Q&A. So again, we just want to what do you say, set the expectations to the members who have joined. So this is more on the web application testing, which includes the database level SQL injection testing as well. And the second point, we will discuss one of the framework. Now, based on my expertise, I would like to have more on the web application testing. But going forward in the next sessions, right, we will add the network testing or the OS level security testing, the other areas. At this point, we just wanted to have it as for the basic, or what do you say, for the ones who are just starting on the security testing point. Okay. All right. One second, please. All right. Sorry, holding you back. So there's a lot of glitch here. That's the reason I'm just told. So the main intention here is, so as we have discussed last time, more the understanding on the architecture, the more we will be doing the more it's better to the more we can do the security testing, right? So as part of it, we were just discussing about the penetration testing. So penetration testing more on how can you find the vulnerabilities in a given system. So you will be doing a lot of SQL injections, or if there are many other ways where you will find out the vulnerabilities in the system. So as discussed, it can be on any way. It can be on the OS part. It can be on the network part. So understanding the architecture or the system will help you in it, right? Now it's just like it's a method of evaluating the level of security that is present in your system on a high level, right? Now, if you know, a simple example is, we have a lot of patches or the upgrade that happens in any software, on the specifically on the OS part, say suppose. Now, we found a vulnerability in that particular case, and the the company which is owning that particular OS will find out a patch for it, or will find out a solution and will give a patch for it. Say suppose that particular patch is not installed in our system, or in our network, or in our system, then that itself is an area where it's vulnerable for security attack, right? So when you are saying something on when you say uh, this particular patch has not been installed, it is a security threat, right? So understanding the entire purpose of that particular patch will help us in understanding how do we do the penetration testing. So each and every details of the patch will help us in understanding what it is. So when you say OS level security testing, this is what on a high level is all about. Okay. Now, the other way of doing testing is, right, if you start assessing this particular vulnerability, you will have a clear picture on the areas where uh, how well or how more this particular area in the system can be vulnerable to security attack. So if you assess the vulnerability, that will help us in doing the effective security testing. Okay. Now there are many scanning tools that are available on the market, both the manual tool, both apart from manual way of doing it, there are many automation tools that are present in the market. Okay, this we will be doing on the network part or the operating system part. So as I said, right, these on a high level at this point we need not panic, but just wanted to showcase that when you assess the system or when you assess the vulnerability, that's where you will be doing an effective security testing. So how do you do that? How do you identify that? That will show in the coming classes. Now, there's a thin line between the penetration test and the penetration testing and the vulnerability assessment. Right? Vulnerability assessment is on a high level, is something you are identifying or quantifying the system which is vulnerable to attacks, security attack. Penetration as testing is something which is called as, which is like a method which will define to find the areas which are vulnerable to this security attack, right? So penetration test is more on the method part. Vulnerable assessment is more on the quantifying this particular attack, right? Now, the purpose of having these two is when you do we just wanted to showcase that if you try to understand how do you do this penetration testing and how do you quantify that particular vulnerability, that will help you in deciding what is the security, what is the level of security threat that is going to happen into your system, right? So having an idea, fair idea on how to do the penetration testing and having a fair idea on how to quantify the vulnerability of your system, that will make an effective security testing. All right. So on a high level, right, if you want to do the penetration testing, first plan the complete system. I mean, before planning, understand the complete system. That's the core or the base of everything. Now once that is done, you start planning what are the areas where you want to do the penetration testing. Then if you have discovered something, then you do then you define the vulnerability of that particular system, and then you assess it, and then you start doing your testing, both for manual way or the automated way. So it's like you try to access, that can be done by accessing, trying to gain the access to that particular system either through SQL injections if it is on a database, or if it's a web application, then you try, you start it from the URL, then from the passwords, and then from the areas or the web architecture or the web server or application server access. And then the other way of doing is the role level testing or the privilege level testing, where you have a set, you gained a set of base level privileges or access, and then you try to get the access of the next level. Simple example is you got the access of a normal regular user. So based on that, you try to gain the access of the admin level or the administrator. Okay, so that's a continuous process, and then based on this, you report, hey, I have done this because of this, I went to this level on the of the system, and then you do more permutations and combinations, and then you take a report of all this and see that what was the result of each and every what do you say, attack, or the each and every action that have you performed. Based on that, you assess it and then come back. So your reporting will also help in deciding the further actions, right? This all this continuous process will take a lot of time. Okay, and you analyzing the report or you analyzing the actions that you have done prior to the next level of security, the next level of actions will define the what do you say, will help you in analyzing the other ways or the other options of the other options. In simple terms, the permutations and combinations will increase. Okay. So on a high level, right, when we say we have discussed on this footprinting, code scanning, and enumerating, right? So again, from the network point, or what do you say, from the what do you say, from the networking point. Okay, let's not do this. So from the types of doing penetration testing, right? As we said, it can be an external test or an internal test. Internal test in the sense, if we are on the same network and we are trying to do the penetration testing, that is internal test. And from an external user or an external user who is not part of the system, if he is trying to do it, right, that is an external test. So it can be, external test can be both black box, white box, as well as gray box. Whereas an internal test is more like the end user who is using the system, or someone from inside the system. He can be an employee or a tester or a developer who is trying to get more access into this, trying to get the access into the system. And then the administrator. Administrator, from his point, he will try to check whether the privileges he gave are working fine or not, right? So it's a reverse way. Now he will now in the reverse way. For simple example, you know the entire system because you are an internal user, right? Now, if you know the system and the privileges are defined already, say suppose in single sign-on concept is being used, where one single user ID password is enough to access the entire system. Okay. Now if that is the case, if they want, if they know the entire system, and if they have the base level passwords, or say suppose an example is, I am the user of the system. Say suppose I'm working in Google and I know I'm the tester there, and I know I have my Google account and password created. Now, if as an tester there, I know the entire system, right? So if I know the entire system, I'll try to gain access to the system as an administrator, where I can go and change privileges of the other users also. So my understanding on the architecture and the passwords given for me will determine what do you say, the what is it, the classification, or the, how that password is being written, or what do you say, how it is being embedded. Okay. Or say suppose simple example is, you have a reset password link available in the system or for the application. Now, if you see the general standards in small companies, they will have a same password for when you reset it, and it's the end user who have to change it once the password is reset to them. Now, if I know that this is the pattern, or this is how the reset password is all is given to all, then I will try to if I know the user ID of some administrator or some other person, then I'll try to reset it and use that same password in order to gain access into the system. So that I can do, right? So this part, if I do, which means that I know about the system and I know how the reset password works for me. So that's how internal testing is one simple example of doing it is, simple example of knowing doing the internal test on the penetration testing is this. Okay, as a simple example. Now from the external testing perspective, now there is no way that the internal users may share the user ID password to all, right? But the simple example is, there are a lot of websites these days which are asking for the emails, right? When we are trying to access their systems. Now there is every possibility that, or simple example is, you are trying to take a loan from some X bank, okay? Or there are websites where you can check the interest rate or the mortgage rate in the in their website, right? So what are they doing? They're asking for your personal email IDs and the other details, so that they can grow their customer base. Now this particular data is vulnerable. Someone else can steal it, or their system is not that great enough, and these particular details are accessed by all. Now this particular data uh, came into the hands of an external hacker, and he will start using those email IDs to gain access into the other systems where this particular email holder can be having access to, right? So that's how the what do you say, the hackers try to access the system using your personal email IDs. It's a simple example for that. So how do you do that? Again, follow the same process. First, understand the architecture of the system which you are probably trying to do the vulnerability or the penetration testing. Plan accordingly based on the URLs, based on the passwords, based on the pattern of the web application that that particular site is, or that particular company is following. Okay, so you start planning it, you find a discovery, then you start doing the attacks, you do the permutations and combinations or for getting the access, and the same process will follow there. All right, so that's more on the penetration per testing. Now, so far, any questions? Okay. Internal testing is see, I am an internal user who is having, see, I am a tester. Say suppose I'm working with Google, so I'm the tester there, so I'm an internal user there. I know the system architecture, I know something or a part of the architecture. Okay, and then I start doing my testing. So this part of testing is called as internal testing. Okay, and someone who is not part of the system is, and if he starts doing the hacking, then that is called as external testing. All right. There is other question: how do you quantify the vulnerability, this thing? See, from a manual testing perspective, we may or may not have a fair idea on how do you quantify that. It's more like, see, simple example is, I see the password, and there's, I knew the what do you say, how it is being encrypted. So if I see a pattern, right, that will let me know if in case the next password result may come in the same format. Or say suppose, simple example is, if my password is matrix, okay, and it has been embedded as EF or N, N O, and then A as BC, T as UV, R as ST, I as JK, and X as YZ. Now, if you see this password, actual password is this, and the embedded password that is stored is in this format. So now, if you see this, right, M is being said as NO, which means the next two letters of your the actual password, and A means BC, T means the next two letters are U and B, right? So if you see this pattern, right, which means whenever I try to, whenever I see the other passwords, I will be knowing that in the system the passwords are embedded like this. So it's a simple, right? So if you see the complete pattern of all the passwords, you will understand how your actual password is being embedded. Now, if you want to quantify this, you will say that, hey, for me to decrypt this password is very easy, right? One second, please. So that's it, right? So this you are just quantifying that, hey, this password is very easy to crack, right? So there's no separate standard as to quantify this vulnerability, but it's just like you will understand whether it's very easy to crack or not. That's it. Okay. All right. Any other questions, please? Okay. Yeah, the same. Sudhir. Okay. Any other questions, please? Now, coming back to the final section of this OWASP framework. Okay. So this we have to map with our STLC process. Okay. So OWASP is the standard that is almost used worldwide to do the security testing. Now it is very simple if you know the complete STLC process, software testing lifecycle process. So you can easily map it with the current framework. So what it has is you have to first define the STLC process. Okay, and then you have to create your policies, or a simple way is knowing the architecture, the areas which you want to do the security testing, and so on and so on, right? And then the next way is you have to define your the metrics or the measurement that you want to do, same as you do in your STLC. And then you have to define the design, that you will have an understanding if you know the architecture. Again, I'm emphasizing on this more on this point. And then you will do start reviewing the or reviewing the requirements. Same like how do you do in the normal STLs, bro? You review the requirements, you come up with your questions, you do what do you say, iterate this process until unless and until you understand the complete security requirement. And then you start writing your test plans. Okay, and you will be parallelly you will be part of the code reviews or the code review that is done by the developers. And then you will start your test plan, and then you will start writing your test cases. Okay, and then you will you do after the deployment is done, then you will write your penetration test cases first. You will start doing your penetration testing, and then uh, then you will assess the vulnerability, and based on that you will have the what do you say, all the others like the password level testing, or I mean, as we discussed earlier, right? So in that penetration testing itself, you will add all this SQL injections, password level testing, network level testing, OS level testing. So you will include all this. So on a high level, right, if you try to map this OWASP framework to your STLC, that will be very, very easy. Okay. From a granular level, when we have a detailed discussion in the coming classes, we will have a detailed or a granular level explanation to each and every area. And then, as I said earlier, right, you report them whatever your findings are, and then based on that you come back, you assess the type of testing you are doing, and then you do your next level of actions. That's it. So this is on a high level how the simple OWASP framework is all about on a high level. I mean, we didn't go into the detail level actually. Okay. Parallel to this, right? If you have, if we are mapping to an SDLC process, there's every chance that you will be part of the code reviews or health checks. So that will also help you in doing the more effective security testing. All right. So this is on a high level what an OWSP is all about. So far, so any questions? All right. Looks like there are no questions. All right. I'm done for the day today. So if you have any questions, just let me know. All right. Okay. So looks like there are no questions. Uh, Ram is asking, you're saying OS level testing? Yes, Ram. We will be slowly adding it to the. See, the point more here is I want my expertise is more on the web level testing. So we are starting to do the OS level testing. At this point, I can tell you on the OS level testing, but it may or may not be that in depth, to be frank.